So we can certainly talk about the 23rd Psalm, which is beautiful, but I wanted to point out what happens in Mark. This is at Caesarea Philippi. This is recorded in three of the four Gospels. Who do men say that I am? And they give him all of these conjectures that people say that he is. And then he says, who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, you are the Messiah. And he sternly ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Now that Peter has confessed that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, Jesus then reveals the rest. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said all this quite openly. No more talking in parables. Now you know, and now you will know the rest of the story. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. In other words, how dare you? Lord, no, this can't happen. You're the Messiah. You must not be rejected. You must not be killed. You must not go through this and 3 days rising again, whatever that means. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, get behind me, Satan. Turning and looking at his disciples. He does this so that everyone sees it. His rebuke of Peter is as open as was his teaching. Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things, not on the things of man. You are setting your mind not on the things of God, but on the things of man. So this God who is our shepherd, and of course Jesus is the good shepherd, and we read the 23rd Psalm, most people's favorite psalm, a psalm of great comfort. We hear about the anger of God in Isaiah and how his hand continues to be outstretched to punish all those who have turned from him. But we also hear that he promises Joshua that things will go well if the Israelites follow him and obey God. And we hear all of this. And then here in Mark, we get the most open and the most clear revelation and confession of who God is, of who Jesus is. He is the Messiah, the chosen one. He is the anointed one. He is the Christ. He is the one that the Jews have been waiting for. And yet, this is followed up immediately by an open public teaching about the cross, which is coming. And Peter doesn't want to hear it. We can't imagine that now that we've moved from the wrath of God to apparently God's forgiveness, or so it seems, from Isaiah to a more positive notion, maybe like the 23rd Psalm, now that we've moved to a place where the Jews are on the cusp of being able to fully appreciate the promised land and to have the Roman occupiers chased from their country, now that we know who Jesus is, we can't imagine the full story. We can't imagine, along with Peter, the rebuke, the enmity, the hatred, the torture, and the suffering that is to come, because we think like men and not like God. But why does God think like this? Why must the Messiah endure this that he now reveals to everyone openly? He now predicts the passion and the resurrection, though they don't quite get it. Why is this part of God's plan? Now, if you can answer that question, you'll not only get an A for this course, but you will have answered one of the most mysterious questions of all time. But that's what I want you to discuss today. Why do we get, after the confession of Peter, this open teaching about the upcoming passion? What does this mean? And why is God thinking like this, but mankind thinking like Peter?